Chapter 3, Making a Home. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body. Deuteronomy 28:18a. Excuse me, Nathaniel, but there is Joseph. Father wants me to relay a message to him. Mary brightened up as usual upon seeing Joseph. Even though Mary was 5 years younger than Joseph, she had held a dream for years that one day Joseph would ask her to marry him. She had watched with bated breath each time she saw him pay particular attention to some other girl, feeling that her dream was about to be cruelly crushed. However, when nothing substantial came of one relationship after another, her hopes soared high that she would be the one he eventually realized was the Lord's perfect choice for him. With this hope still burning brightly, she joyfully relayed her message to him. "Hello, Joseph. Have you finished your job with Dr. Adlai?" "Yes, Mary, I have." "Splendid! What perfect timing, for Father wants you to work for him on a most happy project for our family. Can you come with me to see him now?" "Yes." Nathaniel, being fully aware of why Joseph was needed by Mary's family, watched with envy in his heart as Mary so happily led Joseph back to her home. How he wished he was a carpenter and not a shepherd. The only consolation he could find to soothe his mind was that Joseph had never paid the least attention to Mary to cause him any worry, that he could not yet win the heart of Joseph's youngest daughter. How very different were Joseph, Mary's father, and Joseph, the carpenter. Mary never had hid her dream from her friends that she was in love with Joseph, the carpenter. Nathaniel couldn't see why. Mary's father was so jovial and always made sure he was paid well for tending the family sheep, whereas Joseph was so solemn and pensive. Nathaniel had tried to make friends with Joseph, but felt the age difference of 6 years between them was the problem. Then, when he became a shepherd and Joseph became a carpenter, he felt they had nothing in common to warrant them becoming good friends. Joseph was always polite in his greeting, but never forthcoming in his desire to be more than just passing acquaintances. Therefore, Nathaniel learned not to take Joseph's standoffishness to heart, but came to the conclusion it was just Joseph's way of acting toward him. Had Nathaniel realized Joseph loved Mary just as much as Mary loved Joseph, he would not have wanted to become Joseph's friend. Joseph could not imagine why Mary's father wanted to see him. Mary made it quite clear on the way to her house that she was dying to tell him the good news, but had promised her father that he would let him tell Joseph. Mary's father was an important man in the town of Nazareth. He was an administrator, so nothing much escaped his attention. His jovial nature, however, made him able to reconcile mercy and justice to perfection, so as to make everyone who was good in the town love him, and everyone evil in the town fear him. Upon arriving at the house, they were immediately welcomed in by its head. "Joseph, how good of you to come immediately. I must leave earlier than expected, so your timing could not be more appropriate." "Mary said you were to explain how I can be of service to you." "Yes, of course. For once my daughter was able to hold her tongue." Joseph's smile in his daughter's direction could not hold back the fact that he was only teasing his girl, whom he knew loved to share her joys with all who would listen. Then turning back to Joseph, he hurriedly added, "Because of the time constraint, I must leave it all to Mary to explain. After all, as Nathaniel and I must leave immediately on government business in Jerusalem." At that moment, Nathaniel Mary's mother came in and greeted everyone present with an air that indicated there was no hurry, but at the same time pushed her husband out the door. Joseph and Mary waved goodbye and kept watching her parents go until they could no longer be seen on the road. Then Mary beckoned Joseph to follow her, explaining on the way where they were going. "Oh, Joseph, I'm so excited. My older sister Veronica and her husband Uriah are moving to Nazareth. Father has bought a new house for them, and he wants you to make the furniture for it. I get to make the curtains and other furnishings that will make their new home perfect for them upon their arrival. Veronica is expecting her first child, so you will need to make a crib as well." Joseph did his best to enter into Mary's excitement over the prospect of spending the next few weeks together, making a home for her sister and brother-in-law. Joseph was very happy for the work, but did not know how he was going to keep his resolve not to show Mary how truly he felt about her. It had been easy up to this point, as he had had no close contact with Mary for more than brief moments. However, to spend every day with her for the next few weeks would certainly be a challenge, but he was determined to leave Nazareth for Bethsaida when this job was done and never look back. Mary would marry Nathanael, and they would live happily ever after. The work progressed at Veronica and Uriah's home too fast for Mary's liking. Even Joseph found himself enjoying setting up a home with Mary, even if it was not really their own. And for a brief moment, he contemplated changing his mind about dating Mary. But the day he started working on the crib, Mary's chit-chat established his resolve to forever hide his true feelings from her. "Joseph, I'm so glad you saved the crib to the last. Have you made many cribs?" "No, this is my first one." "First one? How long did you expect it will take you to finish it?" Mary was hoping Joseph would say at least another day, since he had never made a crib before. But she was sorrowfully disappointed when Joseph said with confidence, "I will finish it today." "Today? Oh, then please excuse me. I forgot to bring something from home, and I want everything to be perfect while we are both here to admire our finished work together. I will also tell Father to expect you today for your wages." Mary left, and Joseph was glad for the reprieve. As soon as he had started making the crib, Mary had done nothing but talk about Veronica's baby, wondering if it would be a boy or a girl. It was the first time during all their work together that Mary had talked about the subject of children. Her joy at Veronica's becoming a mother made it very apparent that Mary would someday like to be one herself. Joseph had just about finished the crib when Mary left on her errand. So when the last nail was hammered in place, Joseph moved to kneel beside the crib and fervently pray as if his heavenly Father was physically beside him. "Heavenly Father, I beseech thee to bless the child who will sleep in this crib which I have made. May this child not have to suffer under the curse of thy law as I have had to suffer, because your people have refused to obey your word. I will never be able to place my own child in a crib such as this one, but I pray that every child for whom I make a crib will not have to suffer loneliness as I will have to suffer." Joseph stood up upon finishing his petition to his heavenly Father and saw Mary standing in the doorway. The look on her face told Joseph she had heard enough of his prayer to warrant further explanation. Mary was the first to break the awful silence that would have continued to engulf them had she not have been bold enough to speak. "I'm sorry, Joseph. I did not mean to eavesdrop. When I heard you talking, at first I thought Father was with you, as he was not at home when I went to get this." Mary held up the crib clothes she and her mother had made for the first grandchild. Mary had caught enough of Joseph's prayer to send terror around her heart that her dream was indeed about to forever go into oblivion if she did not do something to resurrect it. Therefore, with a feeling she had nothing to lose but what she had already lost, she boldly asked, "Joseph, if you don't mind my asking, what did you mean you would never be able to place your own child in a crib? Do you never plan on getting married?" Joseph could see the tears begin to flow in Mary's eyes. He turned away to check the tears that threatened to flow in his eyes also. Once he more or less restrained his own emotion. He turned back, determined to tell Mary the truth. "Mary, you are correct. I don't ever plan on getting married. I don't believe it is in the Heavenly Father's will that I should get married. But the scriptures say that it is not good for man to live alone." "That is true, Mary, but I am not such a man, because from my mother's womb I was born a eunuch." Joseph let this truth settle upon Mary, waiting for her reaction. He did not have to wait long, for although Mary was very surprised at his reply, she instantly reacted, even though her emotions were all mixed up, being relieved at his answer, but at the same time had great compassion for Joseph's unfortunate situation. "Oh, Joseph, is that the only reason you believe you should not get married?" It was Joseph's turn to be surprised at Mary's exclamation. Thinking she did not understand, he re-emphasized his dilemma. "Mary, do you really understand what I am?" "Yes, Joseph, I understand, and I admire you all the more for being willing to share such knowledge with me. I don't believe that knowledge should make you believe that the Lord never intended you to get married." "How can you say that? I could never give my wife the joy of becoming a mother." At first, Mary did not know what to say. The battle of wanting to become a mother and at the same time wanting this man for her husband raged within her. Then she realized what she wanted most. So with calm assurance, she replied, "Joseph, I can't speak for all women, but this woman would rather stay single than have children, but not with the man she loved above all men." Mary had said this looking straight into Joseph's eyes. The deep love for him that shone through made Joseph's hard resolve toward her melt instantly. However, to make sure he wasn't seeing things that were not there, he feebly asked, "Am I that man you love?" Mary smiled and said, "Yes." Joseph, still not believing what he was hearing, asked, "Are you telling me that you could marry me even though we could have no children together?" Mary joyfully replied, "Could I marry anyone else and live happily ever after as the Lord always planned?" Joseph smiled in the understanding of what she meant, for he felt the same way. So he stopped being evasive and asked, "Will you marry me?" Mary said yes as she ran into the open arms Joseph held out for her. Finally enclosed in the embrace of her true love, Mary wished that that moment would never end.